Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another video of HM1 in 2021. I'm still Ryan. Today we're going to be going over BUMED instruction 6440.5 Delta, which is the Navy Medicine Augmentation Program. This instruction is huge. It's like 58 pages, so I'm probably going to do a series of 2 to 3 videos because for me, with zero operational experience or deployment history, a lot of these words kind of go in one ear, out the other. So I'm really going to take my time with this, with these videos and not try to do it all at once because this is something that I do not understand. So going through the instruction really helps me. So BUMED instruction 6440.5 Delta is the Navy Medicine's Augmentation Program. That's basically the really fancy way of saying how deployment stuff works. I think the most important things in this instruction is like what is the priority that certain types of billets get filled, as well as like what are the different like BUMED M, like who's the logs and stuff like that. So first page, purpose is to have policy for deployment stuff. BSO 18 personnel to augment DoD, Joint Staff, OpNav, and HQMC, and Fleet Forces Command in any stuff or national emergencies. So the big thing to note, BSO 18, Budget Submitting Offices 18, is BUMED folk. I've seen BSO 18 referred to in so many different instructions. It's just an important, fun little popcorn fact to have. BSO 18 is Navy medicine stuff. Background, I mean, it kind of makes sense why you need a deployment instruction. Talks about some of the different areas that it's been activated, which OIF, OEF, New Dawn, stuff like that. Let's see, forms. Forms are always important. Only one of these is a NAVMID that the form number is the same as the instruction number. So take a note of that. So the 6440/1 individual deployment readiness checklist. And again, 6440/1 instead of 0.5. There's a couple NAVPERs, 1070/602W, 1740/6, 1070/604. And also the DD 2766. I would say the two most important ones to know is the deployment readiness checklist because this is a deployment instruction, and the DD 2766 adult preventive chronic care flow sheet because that has been seen in several other chapters. So like fancy little BUMED logo. Yeah, this thing's fat, yo. 6 chapters, bunch of appendices. I'm just going to go over the first 2 today. So we're going to focus on roles and responsibilities and readiness, which is going to be about 12 pages. All right, roles and responsibilities. I'm going to briefly go over these, and then I'm going to type it in the description. Not now. It's almost 10 o'clock at night, and I'm already tired. But I'm trying to make sure I still budget time for studying. So number 1, Chief of BUMED. They direct, coordinate, and monitor the readiness and execution of the platforms. Makes sense because BUMED is the boss. And this is what I was talking about earlier with the different M's. So BUMED total force. So M1, military manpower and personnel. I think that's easy to remember if you think back to the SSIC codes. I'm not sure if that trend follows for all of them, but at least for M1, Series 1000 instructions are instructions pertaining to personnel. So Deputy Director, Military Manpower and Personnel is M1. M1 is the Principal Advisor to the NAVMED Total Force. Let's see. They make sure medical billets are aligned with the manpower systems, which TFMMS and the lovely, lovely Dimmer's Eye. No crazy 8s. They also manage MPARTS, which is the Expeditionary Medicine Platform Augmentation Readiness and Training System. So MPARTS is the system where the deployment stuff shows up, and that data needs to be uploaded on a weekly basis. Let's see, responsible for the billets. Monitors augmentation requires an associated billet identification number. If there's anyone watching this, please put a comment on what exactly this means, the associated billet identification number. I tried to Google it, and all I found was just a bunch of study guides and copies of this instruction, which never straight up defines what an associated billet identification number means. I assume that means we have a member deployed on a ship, there's a certain serial number for that one billet, and that's whoever's deployed gets that serial number. I think that's how that works, but I'm not really sure. So if you're a deployment pro, please, I would really appreciate if you can comment what the associated billet identification number means. They work with M9, the operational management, to maintain current manpower documents. And that is all M1 does. M7, so education and training. They make sure training programs are compiled. I mean, they are the training folk. Office of the Corps Chief, provide guidance to specialty leaders. And then the specialty leaders are the recommendations for personal augmentations, assignments to NAVMED Echelon 3 activities as needed. They're also the ones that make the leadership position recommendations. So specialty leaders at NAVMED, kind of a big deal. So M4, I think 4,000 series instructions are logistics. So fleet support. 7, probably something to do with training, but I'll have to look that up later. I'll probably do a second video on SSIC codes. So BUMED, business operations. M4, the fleet logistics and training. They make sure logistics stuff is taken care of. That's really the big one for them. Comptroller, money, M8. I like to think of that as mate got my money. They plan programs and budgets for the requirements for BSO 18 is financially responsible. So they do what you would imagine the money guy would do. A lot of these people's titles are like kind of obvious. So the raid and health guy, make sure people are ready. The M9 tasks Echelon 3 activities for deployment execution via official naval message. So that deployment request comes out through official naval message. There's BSO 18 again. Let's see, and here's a date. So M9, right? M9 is the one who, there we go, provides assessments of personnel training, logistics, and training for on a quarterly basis. So M9 provides reports on a quarterly basis. Here's the commander of NMETC. They serve as resource advocates for medical training because, again, they're the medical training command. Let's see. Make sure the training stuff is updated. I got my paper instruction in front of me. Echelon 3 activities. So again, if you think Echelon 3 is NAVMED West, NAVMED East, NAVMED West, NAVMED East, NAVMED Navy Medicine West, Navy Medicine East, Navy Medicine Logistics. Those are the three. I think it's Nav Log Medcom or something to that effect. Third one has logistics in the name. Let's see. So what do? They provide technical guidance and admin support to sourcing commands within the AOR. They do visits every 2 years. I think if you're going up for the HM1 exam, you've probably been through a couple of these before where the admiral comes by at all the hospitals so that the focus assist visit. Let's see. So they make sure that their underlings are sending up qualified people within their commands. They're monitoring their commands to make sure the readiness and end parts is updated. And they do quarterly data analytics for personnel deficiencies, which makes sense. So the head honchos are only looking at this stuff quarterly. Navy sourcing commands. So by sourcing commands, they're talking about your, generally your Echelon 4 commanders, which is your hospital COs, OIC, stuff like that. So what do? They make sure that there's personnel ready to send people up. They make sure that individuals are accurately recorded in or reported in MParts. Again, MParts is that readiness system. Let's see. They make sure they get that the working uniforms. Let's see. Maintain operational control until they've reported to the gaining command, which makes sense because they transfer through. They keep the admin control of the personnel throughout the deployment. So the sourcing command is who gave them up. So they're the source. They're the ones that keep that admin control. So like I got someone that's deployed. On paper, I'm still taking care of their stuff and their evals and all that. But day-to-day stuff, I don't really know what they're doing. But I know they're working over there. But I still have to maintain like their training, or not really training record because they're gone. But any admin sailor stuff that comes up, I just make sure is squared away. Let's see. There needs to be an OSO. That's the operational support manner who supports the POMI. I think it also says in here that POMI, there we go. So there needs to be a POMI officer as well as OSO. Like when I was stationed at Jack's, POMI/OSO was the same dude. Then this is what the POMI does. They develop local policy. They provide qualified personnel. They make sure people are trained. And they maintain individual command personnel readiness using MParts. So MParts is like big. I think of MParts as kind of like the, I don't want to say dimmer's eye, but it's the readiness portal for deployment stuff. They also develop command level mitigating strategies, and they do quarterly data analytics for anything that's jacked up. OSO assumes POMI responsibilities if needed. So I said before, POMI OSO pretty much work side by side. And the OSO supports the CO OIC on reserve manners. And they coordinate the credentialing of reserve augmentation personnel. I used to work in the credentialing office, and I worked with OSO pretty often. Just they would tell me when a deployed member's coming in, and I had to get their credentialing approved by the command before they got here. All personnel responsible, so everybody, maintain their deployment readiness. Let their POMI know immediately if there's anything jacked up within 48 hours of knowledge of the change in position. And that's pretty much it for that one. So just make sure you're ready, and if you're not, you need to let POMI know within 48 hours. Joint sourcing commands. BSO 18, so any of our sailors can be assigned to sourcing commands that are either joint or interagency. So like if you meet people that have IA'd with the Army. However, if you're with the Army, you're still a BSO asset. And any whatever responsibilities or Navy stuff you have to do based on your associated billeting number. And BSO for their operational tasking, that needs to be approved by Echelon 3 activities. And then it says here are the 3 interagency/joint sourcing commands that fall under NAVMED East: Fort Belvoir, Walter Reed, and Captain James A. Lovell Federal Healthcare Center. I'm not sure where the third one's at. I know those big two. Actually, let's look that one up real quick. Where is the Captain James Lovell Federal Healthcare Center? Oh, if I can Google it. Is that the real name of Portsmouth, I wonder? Oh, it's in Chicago. Yeah, Green Bay Row. I guess you can only see part of it because I have the screen cap set a certain way. But it's somewhere in Chicago. Interesting. I thought that was a fancy name for Portsmouth. Well, there's a fun fact. Some Navy knowledge for me. So Fort Belvoir in Virginia, Walter Reed, and then Captain James A. Lovell Federal Healthcare Center, which is over in Chicago. That is it for Chapter 1. So again, Chapter 1 is all about the roles and responsibilities. I'd say the big thing for Chapter 1 is just know the different types of BUMED M's, which I think all of them correspond with the SSICs. But if that's true, I'll post up some notes in my comments a little bit later. Probably be taking me a few days. Actually, I just realized we're at the 15-minute mark, so I'm actually going to cut it on this video, and then tomorrow I will do chapter 2 readiness. So that's it for today. Please enjoy. I will label this video as only chapter 1. Again, this is BUMED instruction 6440.5 Delta, which is the Navy Medicine Augmentation Program.